Alright, man, peace. Most of you brothers out there know that I've always made a direct correlation between the reticence and the hesitancy in hiring a black head coach or a quote-unquote black male head coach in the professional sports ranks, with the lack of respect that the so-called black man receives as the head of his own household, because there is a trickle-down effect. If you're not viewed as the head of your own household, how are you going to lead a franchise? Because for all intents and purposes, the coach or the trainer is a father figure. So there is a direct connection there between your ability to lead children to their goals and help them aspire to higher things, and being able to teach a team, to lead a team, to galvanize a team, and to inspire a team. So when the so-called black man was removed from his own household, that really started a lot of the innuendo pertaining to the so-called black man being a poor leader in the corporate sphere. And that's one of the main reasons why so many brothers to this very day have a very difficult time getting promotions in corporate America. They have a difficult time ascending up the ladder as a head coach, whether it be in Major League Baseball, the NFL, or the NBA. If your own woman doesn't respect you and your own child does not respect you as the head, as the lead, why would the average so-called Caucasian man? Well, there seems to be a renaissance in how the so-called black man is being viewed as a leader. If you pay attention to the NBA, you'll know that 3 out of the 4 head coaches that are left presiding over teams in the NBA tournament are so-called black men, that being Nate McMillan, the head coach of the Atlanta Hawks, Tyronn Lue, the head coach of the LA Clippers, and Monty Williams, the head coach of the Phoenix Suns. All coaches who should have been given their fair shake a very long time ago. Nate McMillan should never have been fired from the Indiana Pacers in the first place. Monty Williams should never have been let go from the New Orleans Pelicans. He was the first coach to lead Anthony Davis into the playoffs, I believe back in, I want to say 2015, when they got swept by the Golden State Warriors. And we all know about Ty Lue's historic run with the Cleveland Cavaliers and now the LA Clippers. He's widely becoming known as the best adjuster, the best corrector of any head coach in the National Basketball Association. Well, the Boston Celtics, they've been beleaguered and oftentimes denigrated for a lot of the racial intonations that accompany their city and their franchises. It's widely known that whether it be the Red Sox, the Celtics, or the Patriots, they have a very difficult time signing free agents because most black male athletes do not want to participate in anything having to do with the Boston area, because Boston is known for being quote-unquote racist. I'm not quite sure if they're any more racist than anywhere else in America, particularly in the northeastern region, but maybe that's the case. Brad Stevens, who recently has removed himself from his role as head coach and changed his position over to being what they might call head of basketball operations, has dipped his toe into the woke pool, but for a strategic purpose. He's hired Mr., I believe his name is Ime Udoka, former assistant coach associated with the San Antonio Spurs. Of course, he's another branch on the Greg Popovich tree. He also was an assistant coach with the Brooklyn Nets under Steve Nash and also Mike D'Antoni. So now he gets to bring his breadth and his great depth of understanding and teaching to the Boston Celtics to try to lead a team that has a lot of talent in and of itself, but seems to have lost its direction. We know that for a while, the Boston Celtics and their group of young talent were being used to troll Kyrie Irving, because we know the media has a hate-hate relationship with Kyrie. But when Boston fell off to the degree that they fell off, it left the media in a conundrum, like, how do we cover this situation now? Because the narrative that we put out for the longest time is that the Boston Celtics struggled whenever Kyrie was there, but now Kyrie's gone, so now what do we say? Well, that's easy. Now we're going to have to totally redefine what the franchise is about. We know that there was the narrative of Kyrie Irving almost getting hit with the water bottle after he stated before the games in Boston that he was concerned about there being some type of racial or racially charged situation between himself and the fans. So now all of this basically has been thrown into the proverbial cauldron, and Brad Stevens very shrewdly is making a decision that he hopes will change the image of the Celtic franchise and bringing in Ime Udoka, who has a great track record as an assistant head coach. He also, by the way, is the proverbial husband of Nia Long, the 50-year-old so-called black actress who was known as being a very good-looking woman back in her day, and still is to this day for the most part. So, of course, they're going to talk about it. I'm going to chime in.
The Celtics are reportedly hiring Nets assistant Ime Udoka as their next head coach. Udoka originally comes from Greg Popovich's coaching tree in San Antonio and spent time with Celtics stars Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown at the 2019 FIBA World Cup.
Now, pay very close attention to the fact that the vast majority of these highlights show Jason Tatum, number 0, squaring off against Kyrie Irving, number 11. So that's for mind activation. Once again, I've already stated, in my view, Jason Tatum is a Monarch programmed athlete. That most likely is another reason why they decided to bring in Mr. Ime Udoka from the Greg Popovich coaching tree. But that's just on a 3-dimensional level.
Ime reportedly separated himself quickly from Clippers assistant Chauncey Billups and other candidates for...
Now we see him here scoring against, what's the player's name, Brown, who's wearing number 1. So there's a concerted attempt to make sure that most of the highlights show Jason Tatum, number 0, going against someone who has the number 1. That's known as a binary sequence that's meant to imply mind activation. So once again, they're pretty much trying to tell you that Jason Tatum is Monarch programmed.
Place Brad Stevens. So Shannon, scale of 1 to 10, how much do you like this hire?
I'm gonna give it a 7, Skip. I like the hire. Worked 7 years under Pop, 1 year under Brad Brown. Spent his last season on the sideline with Steve Nash in Brooklyn. He's been respected for a while now. Pop is the Olympic coach, so when they had the U.S. team going around, he was on the bench. So I think I heard that he worked really well with Jason Tatum,
all three,
Smart and Jaylen Brown, and that's what it's about, Skip. Can you relate to these young guys? And he's 43 years of age, so he's old enough to get in there and play PlayStation or whatever they play now.
You know, Skip, whatever these little niggas play, Connect 4, Spades, I don't know what these niggas playing. No, back in my day, Skip, we played dominoes. You know, I know back in your day, I mean, shit, you grew up in the Stone Age, so I guess y'all played Pebbles. I don't know what y'all old motherfucker played, but, you know, in this day and age, they got to play all type of Call of Duty and Duty or Call and whatever these little niggas playing, them video games.
Call of Duty, that is, Skip. So, hey, hopefully he can get in there and maximize these guys, because I think for the last couple of years, this team is underachieved.
Because, Skip, I couldn't be no coach today. You know, all these little niggas playing video games and shit, you supposed to be watching film. I'll put that joystick right up your ass, little nigga. Get up out my locker room. Because I don't have no patience to be teaching these players today, Skip Baylor.
Of talent, you got 2 all-stars. Marcus Smart is a premier defender. You should get more out of this team than what they've gotten out of this team. And so I don't have a problem with Brad Stevens being not the head coach. I like this hire. Hopefully, I would have given it a 10, Skip, but I just don't know enough about him.
Well, I would think that since you don't know much about him, you would at least give him an 8, maybe an 8.5, and trust the fact that since he's coming from the Popovich tree, and he's been in the running for many other jobs over the course of his career, especially in light of how successful many of these black head coaches have proven themselves to be, that will give him the benefit of the doubt, at least for now, and give him an 8.5 and let him work his way down. Why give him a 7 and make him work his way up? He's already put in a lot of the groundwork.
Go work out. I just saw Rick Carlisle got the job in Indy, so he's off the books. So there are a few more vacancies that's open. Chauncey Billups need to get one of these vacancies.
He does.
And so, but I like it. I'm gonna give it a 7.
Okay. I'm gonna go a notch higher. I'm gonna go 8. But I have long been a big fan of Ime.
Right.
Since his years as the lead assistant for Greg Popovich, and he considered the master.
Right.
Yes, the master. I hope you brothers heard that. There's a master and there's an apprentice. So Skip Bayless may be speaking cryptically. I'm sure that there are some things that Skip Bayless knows. As I've already stated, every Friday he dresses in all black. So he can talk all the Christian shit he wants to speak or talk. He's a wizard. He utilizes and has an understanding of the occultic or the esoteric perspective himself. He'll deny that, but it is what it is. Of course, everything that I'm saying is alleged.
Have wondered why he didn't get a head coaching job. He was up for many through those years with the dynastic Spurs.
Right.
Most likely he wasn't ready yet, Skip Bayless. He probably was not as immersed in how to manipulate and handle players as he needed to be. Or maybe he had not risen up ritualistically enough yet. A lot of these guys, They have to know what they're doing when they handle these top-level assets. They have to have these players' keys. Maybe he didn't understand that to the degree that certain general managers or owners needed him to understand it as of yet.
It reminded me of your first head coach in the National Football League, Dan Reeves.
Yeah.
I'm going way back before your time.
Yeah.
But when I knew Dan so well in Dallas as the lead assistant to Tom Landry, he finished second for like 15 straight jobs.
Yeah.
And he wondered out loud to me, am I going to be viewed as the guy who's somehow flawed because I can't get over the hump?
Right.
Like, is there some reason that everybody keeps rejecting me?
Right.
And
Let me find out Dan Reeves had a black granddaddy or some shit like that. They said, no problem, Dan. You sound like the guy for the job. Do you have a genealogy chart or anything like that we could check out? Because we can't afford to hire no niggas, at least not quite yet. Dan Reeves was a pretty good coach. He took the Denver Broncos, I think, to 3 Super Bowls in the 80s, and he took the Atlanta Falcons to the Super Bowl back in 98, I think it was.
your owner said yes.
Yep.
Now that I think of it, the Atlanta Falcons went against the Denver Broncos in 98. The Shannon Sharp Denver Broncos with John Elway and Terrell Davis.
Here he went.
Right.
And I think Dan proved that he's a pretty great head coach.
He did.
Right?
Took two.
He did, Skip. He found a talented person like myself and put me in the starting lineup. Next thing you know, I was able to help him keep his job for a few years because I was a Pro Bowl tight end, Skip Baylor. That's why I'm here now, whooping your ass every day.
Teams to the Super Bowl.
Teams to the Super Bowl. So, do I know for a fact that Ime will take the Celtics to 2 championships? I don't.
Right.
Because he's never been a head coach.
Right.
But he just looks the part to me.
Right.
What a commanding presence. He cuts a stunning figure on the
Right.
sideline. He just looks like he could be a head coach in this league.
The best thing you can tell a guy that anytime you're a head coach, you're going to get a head coach, and you've been under a historically great head coach, whether it be Coach Belichick, be it Greg Popovich, or whomever the case may be you.
Okay.
See, I think a lot of times they make the mistake, Skip. They try to be the guy that they studied and then learned under.
I agree with that, but also sometimes it takes coaches time to figure out what their own personal coaching style is going to be. And they don't really understand that until they're subjected to the fire. So, the cat's going to need some time.
Check disciple try to be what? They try to be Bill Belichick at their next destination.
Well,
and people look at them like, nah, you ain't him.
Matt Patricia tried and failed miserably.
Josh McDaniels. All of them tried to be that.
Yep.
Be you.
Okay.
You're not Pop. Pop has a very unique way. He has a crassness about him.
Well, shit, I wish that Derek Fisher had tried to be more like Phil Jackson as opposed to running around trying to fuck all the players' girlfriends.
As a Nate, it works for him.
It will work.
There.
Ime will be his own man.
Yes.
So to me, he's coming late to the party at 43, getting his first head coaching job. And I remind you, he was a pretty good player in this league. Mm-hmm. And I watched him a good bit, and he was a tough guy. Mm-hmm. He was a physical defensive specialist.
Right.
And that carries over.
Right.
Players can relate to that. He did coach those 3 stars. Mm-hmm. For Team USA.
Right.
They have a bond with him,
Mm-hmm.
and I thought he was a home run of a hire,
Right.
and I think he'll...
I agree with that. I think that the Celtics are really going to, they're going to realize that they made the correct decision on a myriad of levels, not just with X's and O's, but also with how he's going to be able to market their paradigm shift as a franchise. Because they have had black head coaches before, like Casey Jones, M.L. Carr, if I remember correctly, of course, the great Bill Russell in the late 1960s. So this is not anything new. I just think that Brad Stevens is going to approach it, not just that, we happen to have a black head coach, but we're also on the cutting edge, and we're quote-unquote socially conscious and cognizant of the societal changes that are occurring. And it's going to help them possibly allocate some free agents, because there were some great players that nearly took that plunge. Remember, Kevin Durant flirted with the Celtics for a hot second. They've had some top-notch players who flirted with joining their franchise. So, hiring Ime Udoka might give them an advantage when they're trying to court an incoming potential free agent.
To its glory days. He's the right fit. Brad Stevens obviously was a very good X's and O's basketball coach, but I never thought he had the dynamic personality to lift that team to the heights it once knew.
Yeah.
Brad is a very smart person. I just don't think that he had the strength to deal with a lot of the personality types that you have to be able to deal with on the professional level, where you just can't tell someone, look, be quiet and shut up, I'm the boss here. Like, these cats, they start spazzing out and losing it and going off the deep end, and you actually have to tolerate that and deal with that because they're pros and they're grown men. It takes a certain type of person to be able to go back and forth with a guy like that. So Ime might have what it takes. He's a former professional himself. He also, as Skip Bayless states, he presents a certain authoritarian figure that might make the players respect him more. Who knows?
The high Skip, because for the longest time, what they do, get another retread.
Yeah.
Just hire somebody that's been hired like 15 times just at a different location and give him a job. Let's give some of this new blood. Let's see what they can do.
Right. Here we go.
I like it. I'm still waiting on Becky Hammond, guys. I'm just waiting.
I think that's going to happen.
I'm waiting. I'm feeling good about it, and we'll have to see how it plays out, guys.
Now, of course, Jenny Taft has to bring up the quote-unquote Becky Hammond viewpoint, that she's waiting on Becky Hammond to get hired as a head coach in the NBA, a league that has really been ran by and pushed by so-called black men. We're still at the stage where we're trying to fight to have a black male image in the position of outright leadership, or as the face of the organization in the form of the head coach. But of course, they have to push the female as lead over black men. You only hear about this in the NBA. You don't hear about this in Major League Baseball or in hockey. It's really only been in basketball and football that they've gone out of their way to show females in positions of leadership, because they know for the most part the white boys are not going to tolerate it. The assumption is that, well, black men are accustomed to being raised and presided over by females, so maybe they'll accept it even more, because a lot of these cats are simps. They're raised to be simps. But just the fact that that Jenny Taft would say that, and then Shannon Sharp will say, I think that's going to happen. As a so-called black man, he's supposed to step in and say, well, as of right now, we're still trying to get more so-called black men to get the opportunity to be a head coach. How the fuck does Becky Hammond jump over previous or former NBA players who've been very impactful in the league, like a Chauncey Billups, or someone like a Phil Handy, who's known as a high-level assistant head coach at various franchises, has helped Kyrie Irving, Kobe Bryant, LeBron James, Kawhi Leonard all improve their game. But his name is never mentioned, and yet we're told about fucking Becky Hammond. She will get an opportunity, and they're going to do their best to place her in a position where she can look decent, but I predict that it's going to be an absolute flame out. I mean, they can barely get these young dudes to listen to male coaches. How the hell are they going to listen to some loudmouth, shrill-voiced woman? Okay, guys, let's all gather in. It's like, bitch, why don't you go somewhere and go chew your gum and meet a man or something and stop trying to act like a dude. But anyway, we'll see what happens. Congratulations to Ime Udoka. Peace.